Hey guys, what is up? It is me, Pagey, here once again with another video on Arrow Season 7. So this season of Arrow has been filled with a few surprises already, and we have only watched 4 episodes up to this point, with episode 5, otherwise called The Demon, airing this week. Now, some incoming surprises have already been teased by the cast and crew on the show, mostly to do with either the prison storyline with Oliver or with the future storyline with William and Roy. But what we are going to be going over in this video might not necessarily be attached to either of those. But we will go over all of the possibilities of how all of this will play out and where it will play out later on in the video. So over this weekend there was a pop culture convention in Brisbane, Australia, which is actually where I live, called Supernova. And at this convention was John Barrowman, who of course played Malcolm Merlyn on Arrow from seasons 1 to 5, and then of course was on Legends of Tomorrow in the same role in season 2. Now, in the season 5 finale, we were led to believe that he sacrificed himself in order to save his daughter, that being Thea, from a landmine on Lian, and in the process also taking down Captain Boomerang and some of the Talia al Ghul assassin people. But at Supernova on the weekend, during a panel about Torchwood, which was another show John Barrowman was on, John confirmed that he would be returning to Arrow later on in this season. Now, there wasn't really anything else said about this, he just said that he would be coming back. But as I said before, we were left to assume that Malcolm Merlyn had died on Lian, and the showrunners have confirmed that he did die on the island. However, no one is ever really dead on these shows, especially when you didn't see the body. But also, a character is never really dead when you can see the characters in different time periods, and especially with Malcolm, we can see him in the past because we know he has a rich history in the Arrowverse. But in the options we list, we will just be going over them with the knowledge that Malcolm is dead. Let's just go off the basis and, act as if he's dead, so adios amigo. So we are going to go over some options as to how he could be returning to the show. There are a few, but feel free to let me know in the comment section down below what option you like the most, or if you have an option of your own that I don't mention in this video, let me know down there. And of course, if you're going to enjoy the video, be sure to drop a like on it to show support. So the first option we are going to go over might actually have nothing to do with Arrow specifically, but the Arrowverse as a whole. And that has to do with the crossover for this season, otherwise called Elseworlds. So John Barrowman was in Vancouver for a couple of days for no reason when they were filming the crossover last month. There wasn't any convention being held, he was just there. And as we know in the crossover, Grant Gustin and Stephen Amell will be swapping heroes. So Stephen Amell or Oliver Queen is going to become the Flash, and Grant Gustin or Barry Allen is going to become the Green Arrow. And we also did see a photo of Tom Cavanagh, who plays all the various versions of Harrison Wells. We had a padding on, which is used to fill suits on the shows to so they're not baggy. And he also had a wig on with makeup. And it did seem that he could, possibly be playing a Dark Archer type character, which is of course who Malcolm Merlyn is. So this definitely revved up theories that John Barrowman could be possibly playing a reverse Flash for Stephen Amell's Flash in the crossover at some point, which would keep playing along the storyline with all the swapped roles and stuff like that, which would explain him being in Vancouver during that period. But that is us just theorizing, but it couldn't have just been a coincidence that he was there during that filming time with no other reason known as to why he was there. But moving on to options specifically around Arrow, the first is that Malcolm will be returning to Arrow for flashbacks this season centered around the new or fake Green Arrow, whatever you choose to call them, that we have seen roaming the streets of Star City early this season. Now, we already know who this new Green Arrow is, but I won't spoil who it is for those that don't know yet. If you're still in the dark about all of it, I won't spoil it here because it is still I guess not extremely publicly known. But it would not surprise me in the slightest if Malcolm had something to do with their development, as well as possibly finding out their connections to various people on the show, including Oliver himself. Now, just based off the fact that this Green Arrow is showing up now, I think it would be cool if this new Green Arrow learned their trade in none to pub butt, whilst Malcolm Merlyn was Ra's al Ghul. I think this would make a lot of sense, as it would not be extremely hard to find another place for this person to learn all their various moves and skills and stuff like that. But it would be sort of difficult to find a better place than the League of Assassins, and this would be an easy way to involve Malcolm in a way that makes sense and is also familiar to the audience. Now, that first option had to do with the training of the new Green Arrow, but the second option has to do with the overall past and history of the character. And this would involve them going over their childhood and stuff like that. But it is sort of hard to go over this in like too much detail due to myself not wanting to give away the identity of the new Green Arrow. But they are connected to a character on the show, so these flashbacks with Malcolm could show their involvement, or show his involvement, with their childhood, and ultimately maybe the path they choose to take. Now, this to me doesn't seem like the most interesting of choices. If anything that they could do on the show is that they could show the childhood or younger life of this new Green Arrow, not connected to Malcolm at all, but then cut to Malcolm in the League of Assassins and him helping with the training and all of that. That would probably be the best way to go about him being involved if they wanted to involve him with that sort of storyline. And the last option has actually nothing to do with the new Green Arrow, and this has been a fairly popular option and one that a lot of people have been talking about. And this is that we won't be seeing Earth 1 Malcolm, but actually Earth 2 Malcolm Merlyn, as he could be involved in some possible Black Siren flashbacks. Now, they have said they will be jumping into, or maybe diving into is the best phrase to use. So, yeah, diving into Earth 2 Laurel as a character this season. And while they haven't confirmed flashbacks with her, it would be a cool thing to see. And as Arrow loves to do with the flashbacks, it would eat up time on the show. And we do know that the flash forwards in that storyline won't be happening every episode, like we already skipped episode 3 with them. So this could fill the void in an episode. The flashbacks could pick up just before or just after Oliver Queen is confirmed to have died on the Gambit, or possibly after Robert Queen returns to Star City around that time. But it just shows Laurel's change from, normal life, normal girl, to, well, troubled and evil and deadly girl. They could even have Zoom shot, which would be pretty sick. I think a lot of us would like that. But having Malcolm involved in those flashbacks would be great. I did see a theory posted around that Malcolm on Earth 2 could be the person who ran over Quentin Lance. So it was like a drunk driver that ran him over. And this was when Laurel was in her early teens. I think she was like 13 or 14. And Malcolm Merlyn could be what grew Laurel's dark side as she seeked revenge and wanted to kill him. And obviously in the previous episode on Arrow in episode 4, Laurel was talking about, to Felicity about, how Felicity's going after Diaz, and Laurel was trying to turn her away from that and just trying to bring her back in and not absorb the darkness and go towards it. So this would be a very interesting thing to see. But regardless of what direction they want to take and how they want to use Malcolm Merlyn this season, it should be good to have him back on the show, as even though I thought the character was really overused on the show, especially right towards the end, I do feel his ending was a bit anticlimactic. I know that what they were going for, but I don't feel the execution was that great. It could have been done a bit better. But 2 extra things to go over. The first is that the 11th episode of this season had its title revealed, which is called Past Sins. And I have a feeling this episode could have something to do with the new Green Arrow, as they will actually be revealed in episode 8 of this season, or the mid-season finale, and episode 10 will dive into some stuff around them. So this could be the follow-on from all of that, but more importantly, this episode will be directed by David Ramsey, who of course plays Diggle on the show. So that's awesome for him. Now, episode 11 of this season will be the 149th episode of Arrow, so episode 12, the next week, will be the 150th, which is another huge milestone. So it will be very interesting to see what they do for that episode. You never know, that could be the episode Malcolm Merlyn shows up in. Who knows? It's a milestone episode, so returning characters could come back. And lastly, Katherine Mcnamara is joining Arrow this season in the role of Maya, and she did do an interview with E! News where she dived a bit into her character and what to expect, but this is what she had to say on all of that, and as well as keeping secrets on set. Maya's a street fighter, so she's a boxer in an underground fight club. She grew up in a very rough environment and is very much a product of that environment. So whereas Clary was very much the hopeful optimist, now Clary was her character on Shadowhunters. Maya is very much the realist and the one to punch first and ask questions later. She's not one to be underestimated or messed with. I do have a lot of secrets up my sleeve that have been so graciously shared with me by the showrunner and by everyone else on Team Arrow. The biggest thing I can say is there's a lot to come from this character, and there's so much as an actor for me to mine out of it. And just everyone at Arrow has been so welcoming, and it really has been a situation where I feel like I'm part of the family. So with Maya, I am very interested to see whether she is part of the present day storyline or the future storyline. If I had to put money on it, I would say the future storyline. I think that's the more likely avenue, because I think the current day storyline, there's already a lot of characters. However, they could introduce her as like a present day character on the show, and then she could also appear in the future storyline as a bit of an older character. It matters what they want to do, but seeing that she's like an underground fight club, that just seems like something that would happen in this like grim future in Star City. So I think that'd be the best bet, but we'll have to wait and see, obviously. But if I had to put money on it, I would say the future storyline, but we'll have to wait and see. But thanks for watching, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. If you did, it'd be awesome if you could drop a like on the video to show support. Let me know in the comment section down below. What do you think, what role do you think Malcolm Merlyn's going to be showing up again in this season? Do you think it's flashbacks? Or do you actually think he survived the island? Even though the producers and showrunners have said he died, do you think he survived the island and is showing up or something in present day? That would be a big shock, and I just don't think it's real. I don't think it's going to happen. But yeah, let me know how you think he's going to show back up on the show. And of course, if you are new to the channel, make sure to subscribe. I'll catch you later, guys. Goodbye.